Thank you for joining us for this sponsored interview by SDx Central and Alkira CTO and co-founder Atif Khan. Atif co-founded Alkira in 2018 and has over 25 years experience in the industry. He is here to discuss the evolution of network infrastructures and talk about how Alkira is reinventing networking for the cloud era. Thanks for joining us today, Atif. Could you take a moment to introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about Alkira?
Hi, Ashley. I'm one of the founders of Alkira, which is focused on network and networking infrastructure as a service for the cloud era. And one of our primary focus is cloud networking. And we allow customers to build a global unified cloud network with integrated security and other higher layer services. It's all delivered and consumed as a service. And we have built a platform which is designed from ground up by us. So again, it's a service, and it's network infrastructure as a service, which is consumed as a service also.
It seems Alkira is based heavily on your background in both the networking and the cloud space. Could you elaborate a little bit on that background?
Sure. I've been in networking space for over 25 years now. I've worked for companies like Cisco and Juniper, and a couple of startups that included Procket Networks. For those of you remember some of the startups from the early days of or early 2000s. Timetra was another one, which was later acquired by Alcatel. And then I joined the founding team of Viptela back in early 2012. That's when we started Viptela. Viptela was the SD-WAN pioneer, as most of you know. It was acquired by Cisco in 2017.
Great. And you mentioned Viptela was at the cutting edge of WAN. WAN remains a common approach to enterprise networking and connecting together on-premise sites, data centers, and oftentimes even clouds. It has many benefits, but it's also extremely complex and challenging. Could you speak to some of the challenges of the traditional WAN solutions like MPLS?
Sure, absolutely, Ashley. So technologies, I would say, like MPLS VPNs were designed to provide virtual private connectivity between sites, where sites could be, branches or remote offices or campuses or data centers. And it served its, I would say, purpose very, very well for many, many years, especially through the, I would say, last half of 1990s and the first decade of the current century. That's because the traffic used to be between sites. All applications used to reside in data centers. Bandwidth requirements were low, not that high in most cases. And even the internet traffic, internet-bound traffic from sites used to be backhauled to data centers and then out. But then, then came the cloud era. And enterprises started adopting multiple SaaS services, public clouds, etc. Applications, infrastructure, and networks started moving into the cloud. So at that time, and which is the cloud era, which is now, enterprises cannot afford to backhaul their traffic to data centers over slow-speed MPLS and then to the cloud. Bandwidth requirements have increased. They need secure and optimized access to cloud also. So when it comes to cloud connectivity, cloud networking, it's MPLS is just not designed for that. Another big challenge I would say is agility. It takes, in many cases or most cases, months to get provision. If I need like MPLS connectivity at a branch I'm bringing up or a site I'm bringing up, I have to submit my order and then just wait for the provider to provision connectivity. And in many cases, you're lucky if you get it within weeks. It usually takes more than weeks. In many cases, it's months. And that's a big issue, especially nowadays. Agility is such a big requirement. You need to move at a very fast pace with this in this cloud era. You have to be able to move at the speed of the cloud, as people say. And then last but not least, it's expensive also. Like especially if you have global connectivity and if you deploy MPLS globally, it's quite expensive, especially if you're looking for higher speed connectivity options.
Absolutely. In response to these complexities and challenges, many enterprises are shifting away from legacy WAN technologies such as MPLS and instead turning to modernized solutions. What are the main characteristics of a modern WAN solution, and what should enterprises be looking for?
Yeah, the characteristics of a modern WAN, I would say agility is like one of the key aspects or the characteristics which are required. As I said, we cannot wait for like these slow speed links to come up and take like months to get provision. We need to, if you're bringing up a site, if you're bringing up a cloud location or cloud, we should be able to bring it up. And if you need connectivity between sites, we should be able to get that connectivity provision within like minutes. It's in this day and age, if everything else, like from the compute perspective, if I can bring up a workload in a cloud in like minutes, why can't I bring up my network in minutes? Then another characteristic is on-demand scale, I would say. Like you have to be able to scale on demand. I shouldn't have to buy like all my capacity up front. I should just be able to, like, as my needs scale, my network should scale as well. So my WAN should scale as well. So on-demand scale, global connectivity, agility, high availability is table stakes. You cannot have WAN which is not highly available. When you have WAN or when you have a network in general, you expect your network to be up all the time. You don't expect it to go down. And so high availability is like one of the most important aspects. And then another one is ubiquity. When I say ubiquity, what I mean is like it should be able to handle on-prem, cloud, distributed or remote workforce all in one way. I shouldn't have to like have like a separate solution for on-prem to on-prem connectivity, a separate solution for cloud connectivity, a separate solution for my distributed or remote workforce. So that should not be the case. It has to be ubiquitous, one way. And all of these, like on-prem sites, cloud, your remote users, all these should just be endpoints. And my network should be able to provide end-to-end connectivity, like from anywhere to anywhere, basically. And one way of doing it, as I said, and then security is like the one of the most important aspects of all of it. Networks are not just about connectivity anymore. In fact, I would say in many cases, connectivity is like the simpler part of it. You have to have built-in security. You have to have end-to-end visibility and controls. You have to have full monitoring capabilities, full troubleshooting capabilities. Especially if I'm connecting my sites together, if I'm connecting my data centers together, if I'm connecting my clouds together. There are so many cases where I need like the richer routing controls, capabilities where I need to be able to manipulate routes. I need to have full visibility from that perspective. So all of these are, like, I would say, the characteristics which are required in a modern WAN, and just being able to do it in one way across the board. That's just a great value that one should be looking for from the WAN.
All great points. And in an attempt to meet these modern enterprise needs, we've seen over the last decade the emergence of SD-WAN solutions that brought a hybrid approach to using MPLS, internet, 4G, 5G transports with a layer of automation. In fact, as you mentioned, as a founding team member at Viptela and at the forefront of the SD-WAN movement, in your mind, did SD-WAN address all the challenges and complexities of traditional WAN?
So I would say SD-WAN was absolutely the step in the right direction. It virtualized WAN over MPLS and broadband, basically. With SD-WAN, you didn't have to wait for MPLS to get provisioned by a provider before you could bring up a site. You could just leverage like a 4G LTE type of let's say a 4G modem or a 4G router, and you could bring up your virtualized WAN on top of it, and it was easy to, it was quick to bring up. And in many cases, enterprises move to primarily broadband for underlay. So in many cases, they in some cases or in some cases they got rid of MPLS, and in many other cases, enterprises kept MPLS as one of the transports for I would say real-time applications such as voice, and moved everything else to broadband. So that was the value which SD-WAN provided. You could choose your underlay or your transport for application based on the application requirements. You could steer your traffic on the underlay on based on that. Um, and in many cases, it also added to resiliency by introducing, I would say, multiple broadbands or 4G LTE as a transport. So underneath, you could have many or multiple different transports, and you could just have redundancy or resiliency from there. It also, I would say, added like local breakouts, improved SaaS experience to a certain extent, because as I mentioned earlier, with MPLS, you had to in majority of the cases or almost all the cases, you have to backhaul all your internet bound traffic all the way to the data center and then out. And it just ruined your SaaS experience. So with SD-WAN type of technologies, we allowed customers to enable local breakouts. We allowed them to consume, like, let's say, security from the cloud as well, or in certain cases, like just allowed them to bring up like a firewall or something in the SD-WAN CPE device. So SD-WAN also, I would say, made life a little bit easier in general. It introduced easy bring up of sites, centralized management, centralized software upgrades also. So you could upgrade like thousands of your CPEs from a central location. Before SD-WAN, it was just like kind of unheard of. Being able to centrally upgrade software on thousands of devices. So, but that was, as I said, a step in the right direction. But now we are stepping into this cloud era. So we need networking in the clouds. We need WAN, which can accommodate clouds just like any on-premise site. SD-WAN provided on-ramps to the clouds. In fact, at Viptela, we were the first ones to come out with the cloud on-ramps, and those provided basic connectivity to some of the clouds. On-ramps were built using like transit VPC type of technology or transit VPCs. There was no integration with services. Inserting a firewall, if you had to insert a firewall, was practically a very tedious manual process if you were able to even do it. Or in certain cases, you would have to backhaul to your data center or somewhere for security or services, or somewhere else to a different cloud service provider. And you had to take care of each cloud separately. You also had to take care of like routing between clouds separately. Adding a policy on top was like a very complex process. And even today, many enterprises still leverage MPLS as one of the transports, so they can use it for apps which are latency or jitter sensitive, such as voice. And they don't feel comfortable just relying on internet for those real-time, I would say, just for those real-time apps. So absolutely, SD-WAN was a step in the right direction, but we are in a different era now, and there's more to it which is required. I would say in this day and age, we need to be able to build networks in the cloud, and we should be able to leverage them for all applications, including those which are latency and jitter sensitive. So it should be just one way. Your cloud network or your cloud backbone or the network or the WAN that you're building should be able to be leveraged for all types of apps. And last, I would say, last but not least, SD-WAN was supposed to make WAN very simple. And yes, I would say it made it simple for customers that required, let's say, to connect a few sites together, one segment, no clouds. But for larger enterprises, did it simplify WAN to the extent that we can do today with newer technologies? Um, I would say it fell a bit short there, and that's where we are making all these new advancements now.
As you mentioned, we are in the cloud era. It seems to really combat enterprise networking challenges. It's essential to lean into the cloud, and leverage the cloud, not only as a foundation for application services, but also for the network and security infrastructure, as you mentioned. Why should the cloud be central to modern WAN solutions?
Actually, that's a very good question. Cloud, I would say, as you will hear a lot of other people say, also is in its infancy. When we say it's in infancy, as some reports, analysts reports out there, they show that less than 10% of the enterprise workloads are in the cloud. Some people say that it's even less than 5% of the enterprise workloads are in the cloud. But we are seeing a rapid transition to the cloud. Companies are adopting different clouds, different regions. They're moving fast, and it's not only about like traffic. I would say from on-prem to the cloud, but cloud to cloud, same region, different regions, cloud to internet, and then you have to secure all of it, adding other services also. So it's also networking in the cloud and not just connecting to the edge of the cloud. And you need agility when it comes to networks. We cannot wait on network teams to take like days or months or longer anymore. So we need to be able to build like, and extend like secure all networks all the way from the user to the application to application, and all the way in between.
Alkira recently launched the Unified Backbone, also called the Cloud Backbone, as part of the Alkira Network Cloud. Can you expand on how the Alkira Unified Backbone can help solve these enterprise WAN challenges?
Sure. So cloud backbone, I would say, is one of the use cases of our network cloud. I talked about the challenges with existing WAN technologies, and our goal was to address all of those. So we allow like customers to build a global high-speed network on demand. It's highly available, scales automatically, has built-in security, built-in segmentation, and all the capabilities which I talked about. So all of these capabilities, like as I said, like from a WAN perspective, like when you connect like sites together, there's so many things that you have to be able to make sure that you don't run into like routing loops. And when you have a site connecting to your network, or you're building a WAN, you have sites connecting at multiple locations. You couldn't have backdoors if you're migrating sites to a newer WAN. So you have to be able to have capabilities which can address all of those issues. You have to have capabilities or features or functionalities built into your WAN technology, which addresses all of that. So that's like what we have done. We have taken care of all those. We have like extensive background in WAN, as you said, like earlier. If you look at my background or the team's background, it's many years of like working in these environments, and and we have been running networks, building all these technologies in the past. So all of this experience helps and has helped us tremendously in building this new solution at Alkira.
Thanks for elaborating on that, Atif. Before we finish up, is there anything further you'd like to touch on regarding WAN migration or the Alkira Unified Backbone specifically?
Yeah, so we have paid special attention to migration use cases. I would say where customers transition from existing network to Alkira's service. And this is where we had to make sure that we provide all the capabilities required for successful migration. And when I say all the capabilities, I mean like routing controls, all the mechanisms to avoid loops, visibility from routing perspective. So as I said earlier, also when you have, I would say, site-to-site connectivity, be it branch to data center, or data center to data center, or branch to branch, you need a solution that lets you avoid situations that can cause loops. We have to be able to deal with backdoors. and whatnot, like all of the stuff that comes with, like, as I said, like you have multi-homing, you need to be able to manipulate routes in many cases. You need to be able to control routes, like what routes you're going to send, where, which routes are you going to prefer from which locations. So we had, like, as I said here at Alkira, we understand all of that, and we made sure that we addressed all of it in our solution. So if you need, like, I would say, more information or want to have like a detailed discussion around any of the use cases that we support, you can please, you can visit our website, or you can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, or you can contact us at Alkira.
Great. Thank you so much, Atif. This was a pleasure. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Ashley.